In this video we will take a look at what is philosophy in the Western tradition and in our Indian tradition. We will also take a look at their goals, important figures in both traditions, branches of philosophy in both traditions, common misconceptions and methods of reasoning or analysis. Also a very short introduction to logic. Before we begin, let us look at the need for philosophy. Consider the following scenarios. Someone close to you, father, mother or wife, dies. There is financial setback, a diagnosis of cancer. Moral dilemma: a father is unable to rescue both of his children from a burning house. Which child is to be rescued? In each of the cases above, you need solace, or you realize the transitory nature of life, or you ask why me, or you wonder what is justice. These are some of the questions philosophy attempts to answer. Philosophy zeroes in on questions science or observation cannot answer. A question such as what is the height of Eiffel Tower can be answered by measuring and is not a philosophical question. Questions of morality, beauty, mind, God, are valid philosophical questions. We start with Indian philosophy. Commonly translated and referred to as darshan, meaning to see or looking at. I personally prefer Anvashiki. Indian philosophy is all about 4 purusharthas. 1. Dharma, righteousness, moral values. 2. Artha, prosperity, economic values. 3. Kama, pleasure, love, psychological values. 4. Moksha, liberation, peace, transcendental stage of life, spiritual values. The Sanskrit word for philosophy is darshan, which means direct vision. The word symbolizes difference between modern Western philosophy, which mainly relies on an intellectual pursuit, and Indian philosophy that relies on a direct vision of truth and pure buddhi, reasoning. Indian philosophy is generally divided into Astika and Nastika schools of philosophy. Astika schools of philosophy recognize the authority of the Vedas. Nastika schools of philosophy do not recognize the authority of the Vedas. Almost all Indian schools of thought accepted the theory of karma and rebirth, and the ideal of moksha is conceived as liberation from the cycle of birth and deaths. Moksha or liberation is considered the highest goal of human struggle. There are 6 major, Astika, schools of Vedic philosophy. 1. Nyaya. Nyaya literally means rules or judgment. The major contribution of the Nyaya school was systematic development of the theory of logic, methodology, and its treatises on epistemology. 2. Vaisheshika. The epistemology of this school accepted only 2 reliable means of knowledge, perception and inference, and consider the authority of the Vedas to be indisputable. The Vaisheshika school was founded by Kanada Kashyapa around 2nd century BC, and its most significant contribution was the postulation that all physical matters are formed of small, irreducible forms called paramanas. 3. Sankhya. This school had been the most influential and had influenced all the other schools. The Sankhya epistemology accepts 3 of 6 pramanas: pratyaksha, perception, anumana, inference, and shabda, word, as the only reliable means of gaining knowledge. The Sankhya school was also highly dualist, dividing the universe into 2 realities: purusha, consciousness, and prakriti, matter. 4. Yoga. The Yoga school had been highly influenced by the Sankhya school and has share the same epistemology. Founded by Patanjali, this school is concerned with systematic studies to better oneself physically, mentally, and spiritually. 5. Mimamsa. The Mimamsa school is known for its philosophical theories on the nature of Dharma and acted as a precursor to the Vedanta school. The Mimamsa school has several sub-schools with each having different epistemologies. 6. Vedanta. Literally meaning the end of Vedas, the Vedanta is the broadest and most vast school among all the Hindu philosophies. The term Vedanta is an umbrella term for many sub-traditions, ranging from dualism to non-dualism, all of which developed on the basis of a common textual connection called the Prasthanatraya. The Prasthanatraya is a collective term for the principal Upanishads, the Brahma Sutras and the Bhagavad Gita. Please view, share, and subscribe to interesting channel. Western philosophy. In the Western tradition exemplified by Socrates, An unexamined life is not worth living. Meaning life without self-contemplation is desolate and meaningless. It can be viewed as rational inquiry. The important branches of inquiry are epistemology, knowledge and truth. Epistemology, one of the key types of philosophy, focuses on the study of knowledge. It examines how we acquire knowledge, the sources of that knowledge, and the criteria for determining its validity. Metaphysics, reality and being. Metaphysics, one of the core branches of philosophy, explores the fundamental nature of reality and existence. It delves into profound questions about being, knowing, identity, time, space, and the interconnectedness of mind and body. This branch of philosophy helps address questions like, what is real, and why are we here? Metaphysics has two notable sub-branches of philosophy. One, ontology. This sub-branch focuses on the study of being itself. Ontology explores fundamental questions about the nature of existence and how entities relate to one another. For example, it might investigate the connection between two essential concepts like cause and effect, or how individual identities persist over time. 2. Cosmology. Cosmology, another key sub-branch of metaphysics, examines the origins, evolution, and structure of the universe. It deals with questions such as, what caused the universe to begin, and what might its future look like? In modern contexts, cosmological theories, such as the Big Bang, continue to blend metaphysical inquiries with scientific exploration. Logic, argumentation and reason is the study of argument and reasoning that helps determine whether a given statement is correct or not. It is fundamentally about understanding how things work by evaluating the structure and validity of arguments. More a little later. Axiology. Axiology, one of the significant branches of philosophy, derives from the Greek words axios, value, and logos, study, making it the comprehensive study of values. Aesthetics is concerned with understanding why we find certain things beautiful and how this perception affects our emotions and thoughts. Aesthetics, as a branch of philosophy, poses questions like, why is this considered beautiful, and what makes a work of art a masterpiece? For example, when examining the famous Mona Lisa painting, aesthetics helps us explore why it has been revered as a masterpiece for centuries and what elements contribute to its timeless beauty. Ethics answers questions such as, is it always wrong to lie, or how will it make me feel about myself? It helps us to know if a particular thing is morally correct by answering the true aim of answering a life question, not just about people, but also towards different beings of society. Political philosophy, the state and government. Political philosophy examines human rights, the role of leaders, and how their decisions impact ordinary citizens. Political philosophers ask important questions about justice, equality, freedom, and rights, examining how these concepts should be applied to create fair and effective systems of governance. What are the main differences? Both Western tradition and Indian tradition are not monoliths in the sense of having a single view each. We focus on the common elements in each tradition. For example, rebirth is common to all Indian traditions. Rational inquiry is common to all Western traditions. Western individualism and East collectivism are the key distinctions between East and West thinking. School or theories. The Eastern philosophy is drawn even more to communities or social behavior or people's emotions, so as to find importance in life as they attempt to rid themselves of the superficial conceptions of me and find meaning while finding the real me. By comparison, Western culture is more individualistic and seeks to locate in its heart, as already granted and a part of the spiritual, the essence of life here and now. Purpose of life, meaning of life, goals of living and mysteries of life and death and God. A distinctive feature of Indian philosophy in broad terms is its quest for truth. The method of its discourse is a dialectical process, engaging with the opponent's viewpoint, purvapaksh, challenging their position, khandana, and finally presenting an argument for their own position, uttarapaksh or siddhantat. Logic. To infer is to draw conclusions from premises referred to as data, information, facts. An argument is a collection of statements, one of which is designated as the conclusion, and the remainder of which are designated as the premises. Usually, the premises of an argument are intended to support, justify, the conclusion of the argument. A statement is a declarative sentence, which is to say, a sentence that is capable of being true or false. Examples are: it is raining. I am hungry. In an argument, the premises are intended to support, justify, the conclusion. Deductive logic. Drawing inference from premises. Inductive. Arguments in which the truth of the premises makes likely the truth of the conclusion. There is no guarantee of truth. Premise: there is smoke. Conclusion: there is fire. An argument is factually correct if and only if all of its premises are true. An argument is valid if and only if its conclusion follows from its premises. An argument is sound if and only if it is both factually correct and valid. To say that an argument is valid is to say that if the premises were true, then the conclusion would necessarily also be true. A syllogism is a kind of logical argument that applies deductive reasoning to arrive at a conclusion based on exactly two propositions that are asserted or assumed to be true. As an example, all men are mortal. Socrates is a man. Therefore, Socrates is mortal. Syllogism has exactly two premises, whereas in general an argument can have any number of premises. A uniform substitution instance of an argument or statement form is a substitution instance with the additional property that distinct letters are replaced by distinct, non-equivalent, descriptive terms. In order to understand these definitions, let us look at a very simple argument form. All x are y. Now consider the following concrete arguments. All cats are dogs. Therefore some cats are cows. Invalid argument: x equals cats and y equals dogs in the argument. In the conclusion, y equals cows. Two arguments/statements have the same form if and only if they are both uniform substitution instances of the same argument/statement form. All cats are dogs. Therefore some dogs are cats. Valid argument: x equals cats and y equals dogs in the argument. In the conclusion also y equals dogs. All cats are dogs. Therefore some dogs are cows. Invalid argument: x equals cats and y equals dogs in the argument. In the conclusion x equals dogs, y equals cows. Fundamental principle of logic. Whether an argument is valid or invalid is determined entirely by its form. In other words, validity is a function of form.